Every self-development course, every quick fix guru, every framework you've ever been taught, it's telling you the same thing. Build a better version of yourself, gain new habits, gain a new mindset and a new identity. I'm sure you've tried that before, not just once, but a lot of times. You've probably read all the books, you did the work, you showed up differently for a while, but then that starts to fade and something pulls you back to what you're used to. It's not because you lack discipline or because something about it never quite stuck for you. It just never quite felt like yours. So today I want to tell you exactly why and what actually works instead. I've personally architected and positioned over 100 brands for founders. I work with 8-figure entrepreneurs as well as big enterprise companies like Hydro Flask. And the single most consistent thing that I've found over my experience is across every level industry and every type of founder, the ones who build magnetic brands, they're not the ones who successfully constructed a new identity. They're the ones who stopped trying to become someone new and just started operating from who they've always been, who they actually really are at their center. So that's the foundation. Last week I broke down the complete 11-step magnetic brand architecture framework. And I promise you we dive in a little bit more on the step 1 for that. So step 1 this week is what most people don't always expect. It doesn't have anything to do with strategy or positioning. It's actually something that has to come before all of that. And it's something most founders have never been given the space to even do for themselves. If you want to do this work for real and not just understand it on the surface level, DM me 55 on Instagram. That is actually the entry point to my system and program called Vision Core. But today we're going to look at identity archaeology so that you can do it properly. Let me start with what I call the performance trap. So somewhere along the way, maybe early in your career, maybe after years of consuming other people's content that told you what you're supposed to do or who you're supposed to be, you started building a version of yourself for an audience, for others, and you started performing. And at some point, the performance became the operating system. You actually made decisions for yourself from that same place. And you built a business from it, and you created content from it. And now something feels sketchy, not right, just not yours. See, the content doesn't quite sound anything like your authentic self. The brand doesn't quite feel like it represents you in the right way. The business is real, but you're not sure if it reflects who you are. That is a performance problem. It's what we call the performance trap. And no strategy is going to get you out of that trap. So here's the distinction that is going to change things up for you quickly. Most personal development books are about construction and adding this to that. So you identify with who you want to be and you build toward that thing because you have that vision. You get the new habits, the new environment, the new beliefs, and you manufacture an identity from the ground up. See, identity archaeology, what we're going to talk about today, it's the complete opposite. It's not construction, it's excavation. We're actually digging up something for you. We're clearing away everything that was never yours to begin with, what you've been carrying for years, so that you can find the true you, the gold underneath the surface. So think about what an archaeologist actually does. They don't create the artifact, it was already always there. The work is the removal, like chiseling away the stone when you're a sculptor. That's the work. And what we find beneath all of it, your real values, your real voice, and the real way that you want to be in the world and how you want to be remembered. See, there's a question that I come back to with almost every founder I work with. Who were you before the world told you who to be? I'll repeat that. Who were you before the world told you who to be? Before the first mentor shaped your framing, before the first course gave you that framework that you thought you had to religiously follow, before you started watching other creators and unconsciously absorbing their voice, their structure, their way of seeing things, who were you before all of that? See, most people can't really answer that immediately. Take some time to think about it because we have layered so much on top of it over the years as we've grown up. But that version, the one underneath all of it, is the one your brand is dying to be built from. Here's what it feels like when identity archaeology actually is clicking. Content isn't going to feel like something that you produce. Decisions the decisions, they get clearer and you make decisions a lot quicker because you're not running them through someone else's decision funnel. You're running them through your own intuition. And the brand, this is the part that actually matters the most for what you're building. See, the brand stops feeling like something that you've been wearing, like a mask you've been wearing, and it starts feeling like something that you actually live and breathe every day. That's how you feel like you're creating from your heart center. It's from a brand that is an extension of who you already are. And once you've found that, you won't lose it because it was never something to be built or fragmented. It was always something that you just were in the here and now. Now, here's why this is step one. Last week I said you can't install a magnetic brand and an identity that isn't clear. This is exactly what I meant. Steps 2 through 11, think about it. The positioning, the voice, the story, the systems that actually run your brand when you're not in the room, all of it gets built on the foundation that we find here. If your foundation is performance-based, the brand will always feel empty. No matter how good your strategy is, no matter how many books, no matter how many coaches you have, the audience is going to feel there's a disconnect between who you're presenting to them and who you actually are. Even if they can't really name it on the surface, they will feel it. But when the identity underneath it is real, everything installed on top of that carries that same authentic weight. The brand feels real, the content connects, and the right people feel it in the moment, right when they start to encounter with you, that this is something true and authentic. So if you've already got traction, you've got a business, you have an audience, and you have real momentum, but the brand still doesn't feel like you, this is most likely why. The external layer was built on an internal one that isn't quite clear. So DM me 8 on Instagram. And that's where we'll take a real look at your brand and build a magnetic identity that's worth who you actually are. Here's what I want you to really take from this though. You don't need a new identity. You've never needed a new identity. What you need is to stop covering the one you've always had with performance, with other people's beliefs and ideas, or with somebody else's definition of success. See, the work of identity archaeology is the work of coming back to yourself. And everything that we build from that point, it's built on that foundation. So we architect from a solid space, your true space. Because when you know who you actually are, the brand becomes magnetic. The content is just natural and the right people, they find you, not because you've engineered some new identity, but because you finally got back to your true self. I said it once and I'll say it again. You do not need a new identity. You just need to come back to the one that was always there for you. And this is exciting because it's just the beginning. I'm building out a 6-part series over the next few weeks. I'm gonna break down the real architecture behind true identity, realized vision, and magnetic brands. This is the work that goes beyond surface level strategy and all those recycled frameworks. And it allows you to show up as who you've always wanted to show up as so that you attract ideal, perfect clients. See, if that's what you're looking for, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.